Hi business owners, my name is Dana Ball. I am a small business attorney here in the state of Utah, and we want to get you out of your comfort zone. We want you to face some reality with running your business, and we just want you to avoid a legal mess. At the end of the day, just tweaking a few things on how you operate daily can really save you a lot of heartache later. So right now we are going to talk about websites. Who needs website terms and conditions, a disclaimer, and a privacy policy, and why? Well, if you want to avoid legal problems from anyone who uses your website, and you have a website, then you need a website terms and conditions, a disclaimer, and a privacy policy. So really, today, most businesses have a website. And if you don't already have these in place, I hope after you hear a few things today that you'll be ready to get them in place. So let's start. Terms and conditions. What the heck is that? These set out the rights and the responsibilities of anyone using the site right from the get-go. It means the same thing as terms of service and terms of use. All three of those, terms and conditions, terms of service, terms of use, are all the same thing. So it doesn't matter how you label it, it's the same thing. It forms the legal basis of the site's relationship with the user. So now you've got a legal relationship. You are expressing what they can and cannot do, and what will be liable. So it imposes limitations on the user of the site, so they can't use it for inappropriate purposes, for example. It will include a copyright notice with current year that all the content, your logo and your branding, are the intellectual property of the site owner. So it just puts it out there that it's a notification that if you have any issues with someone trying to steal your brand or your logo, it's just a way to prove that you own that intellectual property. All right, terms and conditions will include what country governs the terms and conditions. So if it's the United States, if it's Europe, it will set it out very clearly in the terms and conditions. It will include what we call a change clause. So this clause is it's important because it allows you, the site owner, to modify and change the terms and conditions at any time. And it allows you to do it without having to give notice to everybody who's visited your website every time you make a change. So a change clause is important. Okay, the disclaimer. This is where you are shielding yourself from legal liability. The disclaimer just puts it out there. It's a notice to all the website users that your website limits your liability for the outcome of the use of your website. It protects you in case some of your content isn't accurate, or maybe it causes harm to an individual. And it protects you from potential copyright issues on your part or transmission of viruses. So essentially, the disclaimer is going to state that if I come to your site, I'm doing it on my own, and I'm accepting that you are not going to be liable if I cause harm to someone else because I went to your site, or if my computer uploaded a virus to your site and then that got transferred to another person who visited your site. Well, that person has to, by using the site, waives your liability. So it's a notice to website users what is limiting the liability of the site owner. Finally, the privacy policy. This is something, it is required by law, so you have to have it. The terms of use, or if you want to refer to them as terms and conditions and the disclaimer, those are not required by law. They are just really a legal, just good sound legal protection to put in place for yourself. The privacy policy, on the other hand, you have to do it. It is required by law. It informs users about how you collect their information, how you store their information. Do you share it and use it, any of their personal information? And you really need to have it even if you aren't collecting personal information from your users. And you may not be, but you still need to put a privacy policy on your website. All right, the question that I want to end with today. Keeping these legal agreements separate on your website, so you can't just combine them all in one. You need to keep them separate and very clear which is, what terms are what. It just lets the users know that each of these different things have completely different purposes. So it just keeps it very clear. And make sure that they are written in a clear, concise, using plain language that your users can understand. Do not just copy and paste from another website. It may not be appropriate for what you're doing. Make sure you have an attorney just review it. If you are borrowing from someone else, have it reviewed and tweaked so it applies to your particular business and the situation. But it needs to be very clear and written in plain English so it's easy to understand. There's no confusion. Does your website have all three of these clearly available and easily accessible by your users? So go and check. Make sure. Often I find that my clients have gotten their websites up and man, it took, it can be hard. It can be a very long process and sometimes expensive to get your website actually up and running. And they easily forget to put terms and conditions, a disclaimer, and a privacy policy. So just go check and make sure you've got it. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to see you again.